Hey, we're live. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming along. It's summer, and I just thought it would be great to do some folds that will encourage you maybe outside or to just be a bit playful. This is the absolute classic origami boat, believe it or not. This is the first time that I've been folding this boat. I mean, it's such a beautiful image. Hello, Eric, Mani. It's such a beautiful image of origami, and it's such a joy to fold. I'm sure many of you will have made this before, but maybe like me, maybe somehow you haven't, and it'll be a new discovery and a real joy. I also tried out, I thought it'd be nice thinking of people in hospital as well to actually go and test it out, and I tried out a few on the water, and it was lovely to appreciate actually that the middle of it really acts as a sail, and it really will be moved around by the wind, and yeah, to test it out. And Eric, I really appreciated how you said for the other boat, the sampan, making it out of wallpaper. What a brilliant idea. I wonder whether it's possible with this as well, if you were to do it really quite big, to reuse it. Of course, you can pull out the boat from the water again as well, depending on how daring you're feeling. Or make things at home if you've got a little pond or just a little glass of water or a bowl. Or just purely make it and just enjoy that it does somehow make your mind feel as if it could be free and float away. So it's a real joy. Maybe we can even have a go at both. This classic beautiful boat, which I think for me is the absolute tops, or sampan as well. Hello, Stephen. Oh, not working today, so definitely not with wallpaper at the moment with this as well. So yeah, just enjoy watching it. I'm sure you know this fold very well. Oh, hello, Penny as well. Hello, everyone. So yeah, so we'll do this folding. As I've tried to mention at the title of today's live fold, I'm actually going to be away the next 2 Thursdays. So sorry, Thursdays, Wednesdays. So yes, so I'm afraid I'm offline, but it's important actually that we all do allow ourselves breaks. Whatever we do, we should be able to take breaks. So even if I wasn't going away, I'd try to encourage myself to get offline a bit. So hopefully having a complete holiday and hopefully seeing my parents. I haven't seen them since December 2019. Thank you, Eric. I had to delay it because of bugs going around schools and not wanting to take any risks, which is completely fair enough, but frustrating. So I'm just hoping we'll all keep well before seeing family. Fingers crossed. And then I'll be back from the 25th. Yes. So we've got 2 weeks off, I'm afraid, but I will still be posting films every week. So there's some new things. I think things that I've designed. I have actually pre-recorded these things, so I hope you'll enjoy them. So, even though it's not live here, you can still go onto those films if you'd like to join me that way. Yeah, but just giving a little break. So I hope you're going to enjoy these boats. Also, hello, Adrian. Also thinking about how many of us maybe have children or grandchildren or your own inner child, this is a really good playful thing to do. So if you have kids, this is a really good thing for the summer holidays and to test out. I quite fancy doing like a really huge one or a really tiny one, but it's such a joy, and it's a very shape-shifting piece as well. So I've really enjoyed learning it afresh, and yeah, seeing where it takes me. I've been taking almost a little bit of a break from origami, again, taking a break from everything. Actually doing lots of drawing at the moment, which is something about the sort of things like cells and proteins, things that we're made of, and yeah, and it's really good to do. This is one actually I did do something last night that was kind of intriguing. So I'm not quite sure what I think of that, but yeah, another fold. But I felt as if I went through a huge amount of discovering new things, and I'm just kind of just taking it gentle for now. I think we just have to go with our rise at the moment. I'm just drawing. I'm really enjoying that. So I think actually my drawing has benefited. Thank you, Eric. I think the drawing has benefited actually from origami because it is about thinking about the dimensions of things. I think it makes you quite spatially aware, and thinking about the light and shadow and the concentration and that kind of self-discipline as well, doing things nice and exact. Depends obviously how you're drawing. And I love all ways of drawing, so it could be wonderfully scribbly and free. In this case, they're quite detailed because they're of real things of what we're made of. I think I'm slowly working on a book. I've no idea whether it'll ever get created, but I have. Yeah, we'll see where it goes. Right. So, also the thing I was going to say that I like about the sampan and this boat as well, is it's using A4 paper. I'm sure letter would work as well. But actually, for children, it's often quite, even making a square is quite tricky, actually. So, just being able to use A4 paper or A5 paper, you're already starting afresh rather than having to go through making a square, which for younger children can feel a bit difficult. So it's nice that it just gets on and uses it. Oh, Zentangle, yes, yes. I've actually heard children talking about that as well. Yeah, these, oh, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, actually, it's very much equivalent to doodling. I know there is a sort of, there's developed it for, it's doodling really, and I think that's something that's just wonderful. It really is, and it's almost a bit like, I suppose actually it's a bit like the origami too. With doodling, people can sometimes do realistic-ish things, but lots of people just go for doing patterns. It doesn't have to be of anything. I think it's an interesting aesthetics can come out of doodling. So I've actually managed to make giant doodles with patients and staff, encouraging people to doodle on a little square of paper. This is before went on to origami, and then making giant, like big collages of all the doodles. And it's amazing how much you start to see links and connections. Quite often, little sweet things like a little animal. You see quite a few people missing their cats or little houses. That sort of idyllic home, and then often sort of the more graphic sort of shapes, which we'll tend to do when we're doodling. I wonder whether we doodle less because in the past it was when you're on a landline and you felt a bit tethered. So you'd sit there and just do that while listening or chatting. Whereas I think with a mobile, you feel a bit freer. I think it's often constraint brings out the creativity. Very interesting. Excellent. Good for you, Adrian. Keep up your inner chat in your inner child, definitely. Oh, fantastic. That makes sense, Eric. Right. Board, piece of paper. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to use, maybe you could use a whole piece of A4 paper. Maybe that's the way to go. Yeah, let's do a nice big bold boat. So you may well know this, but enjoy it if you've done it before. If you haven't done it, well, welcome. It's a fun thing to do. Right, so I've turned it sort of vertically, portrait, and I'm simply going to fold it in half. There we go. We might do a sampan as well, which from what I understand is sampan means, what's a sampan? But a traditional Chinese or Malay boat. And actually, yeah, people can live on boats, can't they? One point, I sort of lived on a boat for a little while in India, actually. So, yeah, lots of people around the world live on boats. Right, so I've done halfway line, vertical, and I'm going to take, now I was about to do something else entirely different. I was being an inventor. Right. So it should look like this, like almost like a card. Yep. Oh, you can have tiny paper. Use A4 or A5 sort of paper rather than square paper for this one. From what I understand, it needs to be this different shape, but I'm sure someone else will prove me wrong, and feel free to. I will be happy to be proved wrong. So there you go. It's got a join at the top. Now I'm going to fold it in half. So I hope wherever you are, maybe wherever you are in the world, I know we have people joining from across the world. I hope you can take some kind of a little break. Yeah, we've not really had a proper holiday at all since, as I said, 2019. So definitely in need of a change of scene. It's been such a challenge for everyone, hasn't it? I think that lack of stimulation, I think that's what I've been valuing so much about origami and drawing and writing lots of poems. Actually, I've been doing, and if I wasn't doing that, I would just find it so dull. I do set up something called the anti-boredom campaign. There's probably a reason because, yeah, I do not like being bored. Obviously, I'm very creative, but even so, I think that less interaction, it's not good. Lack of stimulation, it's not great. Right, so as it is, hopefully it's hinged up there at the top. I'm going to take the side and fold it down along that vertical line. And taking the side and folding it along the vertical line there. There we go. Like so. So taking the outside corner, bring it to the middle line. And for many of you, you will know this so well, enjoy doing it. I think that's something I really love about origami. It doesn't matter whether you've done it before. It's you're Eric, you're unusual. Bring it to that middle line. Well, actually, lots of people will say that, and then they somehow are always doing something. And I do encourage them to question why they feel they need to do things. It's probably because if they didn't, they would feel bored. So boredom is a big taboo to talk about for adults, and society will judge you harshly if you ever admit to being bored. It's seen as a luxury. There's all sorts of complexities to it, but it can be a genuine suffering, particularly those in hospital, and that could be as self-motivated as you feel you are. If you're in that situation where you're stuck, it can be bad. To some extent, we're all quite stuck at the moment, so definitely to encourage you, but it is a real thing. Yeah. I'm now also a member of the International Society for Boredom Studies too. Very important area and very under-acknowledged, probably partly because everyone goes, oh, I don't get bored, which is a great thing, but not everyone's in that position. Right, so this bottom flap, that I admire you greatly, Eric. I'm sure you're always doing creative things, aren't you? That's a big help. So we've got this loose flap at the bottom, so I want you to take that loose flap. There is lots to explore. Of course there is. But it's about being caged in effect. So if you leave a dog at home, it starts to suffer a bit. Or if you put an animal in a bear cage, it would suffer. It is just normal. We're meant to interact and do a lot of things, and we're in situations where we don't get that. I mean, we all know solitary confinement would be the worst thing to do to somebody, and that's, yeah, that just is the human mind. We are meant to interact. The cleverer an animal, the more it does actually need certain stimulation and interaction. So this flap folded up, it's not so much about, I think people, as soon as you bring up boredom, they'll think of their own personal thing rather than actually can be in the situation. I think also, if you were, I don't know, out of work, feel there's not much there for you. You're struggling to pay bills. You can't see much of a future. You haven't got those. You haven't got those opportunities. It's a lot about opportunities, and that's also to do with class as well. So to offer sympathy, because in a way you could also, with loneliness, I think it's very interesting how loneliness has been acknowledged, such an important thing. But in a way, people don't offer the same kind of blame as they would with boredom or just do something. I mean, you could say the same with loneliness, just go and speak to somebody. Actually, that's easier to solve with boredom, which is about a need for meaning, and actually that can be quite hard for people to find. So yeah, just interesting. Right, okay, so hopefully it looks like this. So turning to the back, and your next step is to take the bottom corner and folding it up there. But if you think of solitary confinement, that would be very hard for people, and that's normal. That we do suffer with a lack of stimulation. Bottom corner and things like this definitely helps. And to some extent, the brilliant thing is with origami is everyone can find some kind of paper, unless you really were in the bear room, which would be horrendous. Yes, that's right, Eric. So there's a lot of research done, and funnily enough, into enrichment, but not into human. Funny, isn't it? There we go. Yeah, it's about ethics and morality, really, which is, I guess, maybe harder for science to look at. Anyway, I've written, if you're ever interested, look up my name. Well, if you look up my full name, Elizabeth Burns, British Medical Journal, and I've written about boredom, encouraging that empathy towards patients, because it is a problem for a lot of people, and I think very understandable. And you could be someone who's very self-motivated, normally fine, but in those situations, it's also about not being able to focus and concentrate, which is also coming from the worry as well and uncertainty. But I think society's judgment of it is actually what stops people being able to talk about it, because it can be very much genuine. Hopefully, have you got something like this? Sorry, I completely digress. We're meant to be relaxing origami. There we go. So our next step is to sort of open it up and bring that open. Can you see? So it's like the hat. I'm opening up and I'm sort of turning it sideways, and it forms a square. So it's like this. Can you please write that in the description? Yes. I can do that actually. It's called something like "Pass Me an Anti-Boredom Pill, Doctor." So I was quite almost outraged actually, because I came across a study where they did recognise boredom as a problem for patients. I mean, if you think about waiting, actually you're waiting all the time once you become a patient. It's very hard. So it becomes very hard to concentrate on anything. So you are left in that state of unable to focus, which is boredom really. You want to do something, but you can't. Anyway, it was recognised as a problem within cancer, but honestly, it's to do with any group in hospital really. And so they tested out medication. You'd get funding for that, but not funding for providing some enrichment. Just goes to show, if it had worked, I bet pills would be dished out for boredom, and I think that's very sad. I think that's wrong. So that's what encouraged me to write that. I think society, we're not valuing things like this enough. I suppose because in a way it's free, but actually people's time should be valued too. There we go. Sorry, I'm chatting lots here, aren't I? Not about the origami. So this square should look like this. And I'm going to bring the bottom corner up to the top, like so. There we go. Like so. And then turning it to the back. Looks like a square. Bringing that up. So all of this could be a nice little hat as well, couldn't it? Right, I hope I'm doing this right. I've definitely been distracted, haven't I? So there we go. Again, it's like a little hat, so you can open it up. I'm opening up and I'm sort of twisting it round sideways. And I just love that it looks like a sort of a bud or a flower that could open up. You can see that it's opening up. There we go. Yeah, I read over 100 papers about boredom. My real frustration is it's not taken seriously, and I think it's because probably also people who would be on a panel for awarding funding or it's not really been recognised as a problem, even though we know boredom is the best way to induce torture. It's really unpleasant if somebody's left, say, in a bare space, and that's just normal. But often I would guess as well, I wonder whether it's been unacknowledged because people would be on a funding board would be like, oh, people who get bored, how lucky are they to be in that position? It's just sort of there's often a moral judgment around it. And I think it's probably comes to us from parents and children in many ways, trying to be kind and positive to actually do something. Do something. You can do something about it, which is true. But in many ways, encouraging them to shut up about it. No, I was certainly told, and I know it's well-meaning, only boring people get bored. And so you learn to swallow it, not to say, of course you get on and do things. But I think it's also very hard to admit. And it is a normal emotion. So we should be able to talk about it without moral judgment. Right. So it's kind of almost like a bud, and you can pull apart the sides. And I think as well in these times that you see, I love the shape-shifting bit. So opening it up. That's right, squashing it down. But it's also, I think, our intrinsic need for variety and stimulation, and so it's quite normal. I have been feeling a bit bored recently. I mean, I am doing stuff and I find much to be excited about, but I am missing that interaction with the world that I did have. I think that's normal. It's okay to admit these things in the same way we can admit when we feel a bit sad or a bit happy about things or angry, or it's okay. So this is almost a little boat, and you sort of need to open up a bit. So I'm opening up the bottom. How are your boats going? I've talked a lot about boredom, haven't I? I'm sort of opening it up. I don't know whether you're able to also. Very shape-shifty, isn't it? Opening it up sideways, it's sort of bringing it out a bit. That means that it stands up. It's just such a beautiful shape. Isn't that so elegant? Yeah, I hope that's worked for you. I'm going to really quickly look up the BMJ paper I wrote. Pass me an anti-boredom pill, doctor. Right. So if you would like, let me see. I could put this in the chat box. But it is something I thought about greatly, and it is something which people aren't asked about, they won't say about, and it's probably because there's moral judgment. And yeah, I have tried also, yeah, and I think actually almost arming yourself with how to look after your mind before being in that situation is a good thing. So the more creative we can be, the more it's that sort of self-stimulation, really. Great. Yeah, I love the folding moves of this. Excellent. Sure, we could very quickly do a sampan as well while we're here. I think I'm going to use half a piece of paper as well. So if you want to make a second boat, if you feel like it, grab another piece of paper. I'm going to make this into A5. Again, it's nice because you're just using paper pretty much as we have it. There we go. So we're going to fold it in half. Bring that vertical. There we go. And then I've opened it up and I'm going to take the outside to the middle. I think as well, well, obviously loneliness and boredom are closely associated too. But in many ways, actually, if you can help with addressing boredom, you'll help with with loneliness as well, to use time well by yourself. Obviously, people give us stimulation and we do need interaction. Again, the outside to the middle. I also tried to make a little film explaining more about boredom and trying to encourage empathy. Let me see if I can find that as well. So if you wanted to watch that, I'm just going to look that up as well. So in the International Society for Boredom Studies, because I've been long kind of associating with that group. It's a very small group of people over such an important issue. Yes, of course. Yes, I agree. I do think loneliness is not just about whether people are there, it's about how you feel and whether you feel related and connected to others. Yeah. Oh, Penny, you're off. Sorry, Penny. No problem. Well, thank you very much, Penny. Really appreciate it. Yeah, you too. Look after yourself. I hope you get. Thank you. I hope I get to see my parents too. Yeah, have a good couple of weeks too, Penny. So a piece of paper here. So we're going to take the corners and fold it to that middle line. Again, for many of you, it will be revisiting a well-known fold. This is maybe one of childhood. I don't know. And I do love how origami you feel connected to others, because this will have been passed on from one to another, and through having fun together with others to gain the loneliness, the boredom that we could have always suffered from. So it's looking something like this. Great. And now these corners we're going to fold over one more time. Oh, yes, exactly. I think a lot of it's how you're feeling, actually, loneliness. Sometimes actually you can feel loneliest in a big group, can't you? Where you just feel like you're just not connecting. Yeah, sometimes things like sort of those social parties, you feel like you're meant to have a good time. It's just, oh, that can be the worst. I think it's a deeper connection with others. There we go. Wow, bagpipes, blimey, that must be loud, Barney. Oh, there we go. So hopefully, is it looking like this? It's an interesting shape, isn't it? Right, the next bit, you may well have some top tips about how to do it, but we're going to these little flaps inside here. We can open up, very cheering, well done. Open it up and then sort of turn it inside out. I've not found a nice, neat way to do this yet, but do feel free to advise. I'm sure many of you have a lot more experience than me. Again, I've only recently learned these things. So to get it to sort of hold, I am going to push the outside inside. So it's turning it inside out really, which definitely don't want very thin paper for this. It's a bit strange after we're so used to keeping paper perfect. If you find it a funny one, I feel like I'm crumpling it. It's all right. Part of the process. So maybe you have a better way of doing it than me. Feel free to explain if you do. Oh dear. Torn it. My apologies. I'm not giving it 100%, am I? This is often what happens when I'm chatting away. Because normally I fold just quietly by myself. Anyway, it will be good enough. So, folded it. Does look quite crumply, doesn't it? How have you got on with this one? Do you have a better tip? Top tips for turning your sandpans inside out? Another possibility too, actually, David, who sometimes joins us, has suggested you could also do like a little top for it as well. So you could take, this one's made out of A5, take the A5 and halve it again, and you could just make a little covering for it. I quite like the idea of you could sort of decorate it, make it into a little houseboat. So I'm simply taking the other piece and really just folding it in half. I'm sure there's many ways you could do this. Well, some people have just kept it curved actually, but you could have it this way. Maybe you could do a little fold at the side. Oh, wow. Put a coin in the bottom. That's an interesting idea. What am I doing here? I'm sure David would be like, what are you doing? But I'm doing it in the way I feel like doing it. Just making a little edge to it, maybe. Be inventive. Be your childlike state of just playing around. I'm just doing a little edge to it. I'm afraid this isn't an exact or a correct way of doing it in this case. I really don't know what I'm doing here, but that's okay. Don't need to know what you're doing. It's just quite simple. A little edge to it anyway. Because you've got these, so this is something which David haven't put. Oh, that's good. I'm glad it's reminded you of making them, and it does hold very well. Obviously, you can use this as a nice tray, or try and float it. Why not? So there's these little grooves. So this is something that David noticed, and you can pop them in there. He's probably would do it better than me, but anyway, it's more about enjoying the process. There we go. I popped it on one side. Whee! Just be playful in whatever you do. This is very much your inner child type boat. I would guess tongue might come out. Or actually, some people I saw have just curved it around. There's no need to do any folds at all. Which is fair enough. Maybe that's the better way, actually. I'm wondering if that is the better way. Yeah. Nothing like trying to do these things while filming. Yeah. Oh, no, that's not staying to me. I think I'll just try the paper. That's what I've seen others do. Simply pushing it in there. Oh, yes, that feels good. I'm sure I've just misinterpreted how to do it with the folding. Wow. Don't know about you, but I'm finding I need to concentrate a lot on this. But that's what's rather lovely about it all. You don't need to cover it. It's just if you wanted to, you could. Yeah, that's pretty good, isn't it? Let's look. Not sure how long it'd last. I was actually considering trying to whether I could make a little sampan or some kind of a boat for some ducks to try to feed some ducks. Some actual duck seed, some actual bird seed on the river yesterday, and I was considering because if we chuck the seed in, it just sinks into the water. So I think you could make a little boat and put the bird seed on there. And actually, we ended up just making a little boat out of just a leaf. The ducks absolutely did not realise at all that there was food on there. We kept pointing, it's on the leaf. I guess they would never ever find food on a leaf, so they just didn't. It was like it's invisible. But wondered if we made a little paper boat and put some food on it, whether that would have worked. I don't know. Yes. The water is not great, I have to say, on the river. You can see it's quite, it's been very heavily polluted apparently around Oxford. You can see it. It's not as, it's quite, not great looking. Such a shame. Water should be full of life. You can see some fish, but not many. They're struggling. There's always too many people, aren't there? And when you're farming land, that gets washed off into the water. There's just too much people and overuse of land. It's plus apparently some of the raw sewage has been put into water as well. Not good. Anyway, I hope it's worked for you. I have to say, I've ended up going back to, I just love the Japanese one. It's so elegant, so beautiful and sharp and a lovely, lovely shape. So I hope you've managed to make some kind of a boat, and I do hope you can have a go at floating it, or if not, floating it in your mind. So I'm wishing you all a very good couple of weeks, and I will be back from the 25th, and then it should be every week again. But just keen to take this little break. We should all look after our well-being. I'm definitely in need of a change of scene. So look after yourselves, everyone, and well wishes. Keep safe, keep looking after your mind, and keep finding ways not to be bored. Bye-bye. Thank you.